plagiarism and art theft has been done since
Forever.
Forever.
From the classics, from the masters. They were
Yeah.
always copying each other and
yeah.
riffing off each other, so to speak. I would say, how different is this from Anil Kapoor taking out a trademark and registering his chakas? If you really want to make creepy stuff, you can go ahead and do it. I wish never to incorporate this technology into my work, and this is an insult to life.
We are living in an age of action before thought. Because if at least thinkers and creative people pause to think that, this is a trend, it'll be fun. Of course, would you not like to see your Ghiblified image? I would. But, it's unethical. Kiran, I have to say this, that everywhere I go, people know about a podcast. They've either listened to it on Spotify or watched it or at least seen the promos online. And they all say, "Oh my God, we love the name of your podcast." And then they ask me, "How did you come up with that name?" And then I go back to that conversation where, I was complaining on Twitter that at some Kirana store, that guy said, "Auntie Hatona." And then I said, "But I'm not your auntie." And then you responded. And then you were already doing a podcast. We met and, we said, as we were catching up over coffee, and then our podcast was born.
And we decided to officially become Not Your Aunties.
Yeah, I mean, we are not
We are
anybody's
not
aunties.
aunties.
So, and then people always said that this is the feedback from a lot of people saying that, why do you not talk more about your not your auntie moments? And shout out to our friend Udit Mamri for pointing out that we don't talk often enough about our not your auntie moments, because since the name has really taken off, we may as well include our not your auntie moments. So tell me, in the last 1 week, what was your not your auntie moment?
In the last 1 week, what was my Not Your Auntie moment?
Or in the recent past?
Okay. My son is 21 and I work in my living room. I had some song playing on while I worked. He comes up to me all sleepy. You know this song? How do you know this song?
What song was it?
Pate, which I think the whole world knows by now.
No, I don't know.
You don't?
Pate, is that a song?
That's a song.
Korean song?
It is a song with Bruno Mars and a Korean singer, and which has gone like
Viral?
it's everywhere. So that was my not your auntie moment, because he was genuinely shocked that I knew the song.
Amazing. I'm feeling like an auntie right now. I don't know this song.
What was your not your auntie moment?
Well, just now I had an auntie moment because I don't know this pate. It sounds like a Thai dish.
I must make you listen to it. Then you'll never get it out of your ears and you'll curse me for the next week.
Okay, sure. Done. So my not your auntie moment, actually my whole life is a big not your auntie moment. But two of them in the past 2 weeks. One is, look, I went skiing with my younger one, who is an expert skier. And I'm very late to the game. I only started learning to ski in my 40s when I plucked the courage to learn to ski. And she and I were skiing more or less on the same slopes at this ski resort in Almaty this time. And I was skiing after a gap of 3 years. And I realized my stamina while skiing was the same. Of course, her technique is better than mine, but I think that I once I want to do something, I do it relentlessly till I can master it to the best of my ability. So I did that, and we were on our feet the entire day, both of us equally. And I was quite impressed that, I kept at it, and I didn't get, I was exhausted, but I just kept going. So one was that. And, in my 40s, I used to get exhausted, early 40s, I used to get exhausted. Mm-hmm. And now at 50, I'm like, this is amazing because I'm stronger now. I work out, right? And the other one was even now when I was just in the Maldives recently for a long weekend, and they had invited us along with some other influencers, and they were in their 30s, early 30s, and one was 38. And I realized that snorkeling, swimming, all the activities, walking up and down that massive resort, Lux Resorts, it's called. It's huge, probably one of the longest resorts. And I realized that I'm almost always game to do everything they are doing. I'm always part of every plan. There was just this one time where I was like, okay, now it's too hot and I'm too tired, so I'm not coming out for clubbing after like 10, 11 at night. There's a beach club there. But yeah, like I said, my whole life is a not your auntie moment.
Lovely. All that stamina. So anybody wanting to sell stamina supplements, you can always sponsor us because we both got a lot of stamina.
I don't want supplements.
No, you've got natural stamina.
Yeah, I can give my blood plasma. I'm like that Brian,
You don't
Brian Johnson.
have stuff to measure with electrodes.
I know. Kiran, that clip of yours has gone viral, okay? Yeah.
I know. I've scandalized everyone in my family.
No, I think actually in every podcast, we should insert a word like erection or
penis.
or breasts. And then I think, this dumbed down social media, brain rot generation, they just like these words. And that's all it takes for something to
And
do
I will
well.
be Munni Badnamoui, who always speaks about this stuff.
I only speak the truth. Yeah.
So anyway, this week we are going to talk about something that is not your auntie.
Yeah. And Kiran, I have to say, I'm so happy that you and I are on the same page about this. We are talking about Ghibli. I was calling it Ghibli until Kiran told me it's Ghibli.
According to Google Pronounce.
It is a Japanese art form. It's a studio, not art form. It's a Japanese art studio. The artist's name is
Hayao Miyazaki.
What? Miyazaki, I know. What?
Hayao Miyazaki,
Yeah.
who founded the studio along with two other people.
Right.
And they create these
An anime.
Yeah, anime studio.
Yeah.
And fantastic anime films. Some have gone for the Oscars.
And as
well.
you know, anime screen on screen, like animation, is hand done. It's hand drawn. Okay. So these wide-eyed characters that you've been seeing on people's Instagram and Facebook pages and even DPs of Twitter and other social media handles, all photos have been Ghiblified by feeding it into the ChatGPT 4.0 model. And it converts your image into some sort of not artistic rendition, but completely Ghibli's version of what that would look like if it were hand drawn. And Kiran and I are both extremely offended by this viral trend, not only because it is sucking the planet dry. Every time we use ChatGPT and these images are heavy files, it consumes a lot of water because the servers get so heated up that they need to be cooled down.
Sam Altman even went on record saying that after this whole Ghibli trend that he's rolled out, the GPUs are melting. Our GPUs are melting because the demand is so high.
I hope they just crash because I'm really upset about the climate, what it's doing to the climate, and how upset is. In 2016, Miyazaki, as we all know now, went on record to say that it's a creepy concept, AI. And he said, Hayao Miyazaki, the co-founder of Studio Ghibli, had previously expressed his disapproval. And he said, I strongly feel that this is an insult to life itself.
Yeah. He said, I can't watch this stuff and find it interesting. Whoever creates this stuff has no idea what pain is whatsoever. I'm utterly disgusted. If you really want to make creepy stuff, you can go ahead and do it. I wish never to incorporate this technology into my work. And this is an insult to life.
This is prescient, right? Because he said this in 2016. And there it's been done now.
It's been done.
And Kiran, here's the thing. Art, according to some of us, is meant to be created, not generated. Whether it is your words, your writing style that someone can write, help me to write a novel like Kiran Mandral in her voice, or my voice, or Bridget Jones' Diary, or anybody's voice, okay, Jhumpa Lahiri's voice. So there is so much that has gone into the making of that voice or that stroke. It is the distillation of that person's heart, soul, mind, life experiences that have gone into it.
Absolutely.
And you just generate it. And then you think that you're having it's for a fraction of a few seconds of playfulness to see your own self-adapted that you're doing this.
See.
It's a violation of somebody's creative...
the entire process.
So yeah, it's a violation of someone's creative process and who they stand for.
I saw a clip which had a 3-second scene, a crowd scene of an earthquake that was done by Studio Ghibli. And it took the artist months to do that. Months. And within that scene, each person in the crowd is going through a story. A mother is separated from a child. Somebody is reaching out to something else. And to think that the nuance that went into each character in a crowd
Yeah.
to create that scene, it all gets done within seconds.
Yep.
Okay, it is aspirational because for the life of us, none of us are ever going to be made into anime by Studio Ghibli.
Sure.
So that joy of seeing yourself in that frame and that style, I think that's what has given most people joy. My son, he took a picture of me and him when he was a kid and he got it converted and he came very happily to me, Mama, see, Mama, see.
How sweet, yeah. Because it's such a big
Yeah,
viral trend,
yeah.
right?
And it was a
And
cute
he's
picture.
innocent to it, yeah.
He's not so innocent. He's 21. He should be old enough to know better.
No,
And his
come
mother's a creator.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
royalties at the end of the
But
day.
we are not defending this only because we are creative people.
Yeah. And then I explained to him, see, the person who has created this has spent his life
Yeah, it's his
making
life's work.
It's his entire life's work. It's just taken, it has been fed without his consent
Yeah.
into the machine. The machine has distilled the main things and sucked the essence out like a vampire and now vomits it out.
It's theft, actually. It is theft.
And I hope they're suing them. I think they're suing them. I think a legal notice
I
has
think
been
that's
sent.
a rumor. I tried to Google. You sent me. Do you think
yeah.
it was sort of, again, an AI output?
Maybe
It was, because when I Googled it after
I
that,
couldn't find
it wasn't there on the news anywhere.
I
But big studios can afford to sue OpenAI, at least for these kind of, it's plagiarism, it's a violation of someone's intellectual property. I agree that, Kiran, when you say something takes frame by frame creation, I think somewhere there's one issue there, which is that do hours spent in creating a certain work justify its value? Only they justify its value if it is well done, right? You can take like 18 years to complete something and it's done with human hands. But nowadays, AI is hastening the process of producing animation because, so to that end, to produce something fresh, it's a good thing.
See, technology will always outstrip human speed.
Correct.
So when the photograph came in, then the people who were making portraits, hand-drawn portraits, oil
Yeah.
paintings were put out of work because people were posing for photographs and the photographs were instantaneous. Did their work get devalued? People still do commission oil paintings of themselves,
No,
but
but it,
not as much as photographs.
of course.
And that is an eventuality we all have to come to terms with. I mean, escalators have replaced stairs.
Yeah. Also, photographers were then replaced by mobile phones with good cameras because now, for so many things, we don't hire photographers. We
At
just
all.
say we'll manage by ourselves.
Absolutely. I mean, photo studios, which were so ubiquitous when we
Yeah.
were growing up,
Yeah.
are hardly there anymore if you
Yeah.
look at them.
So, tech has hastened the process of a lot of activities and events in our life. And to that end, tech is very useful.
But this is
Okay.
like a Xerox.
But this is, I think, lifting someone's creative work, and that too of a living artist
There is
who's
no-
still making a living of that studio, who has people making a living of that studio. This is not an artist who's dead and gone. Today, if you wanted to do this to Van Gogh and say, I care a damn about the environment and Van Goghify your piece of work, it would be fun. Okay, Gustav Klimt, Van Gogh, whatever, one of those old masters. It's fine according to me and according to Kiran as well. And if you see Kiran, I mean, a lot of our own friends also were not thinking about it when they were
No,
posting.
it was just a fun trend that
It
everyone.
was a fun trend. But Kiran, I am not kidding. I was like, you know what? Oh, it'll be fun to do it. But my just one inner voice was saying, don't.
I was just horrified, honestly.
But journalists have done it.
Yeah. A lot of very famous people have also done
Yeah.
it. I would say, how different is this from Anil Kapoor taking out a trademark and registering his chakas to prevent people from using it in ads?
Has he
for-
done that?
He has done that. He has been on Times most, whatever, 100 most, whatever, people of the year or something, because he was the first to copyright something he has said in a
Oh.
movie. Like it,
And
it-
that's still a word.
yeah, and that was a character that he played.
Yeah.
That's not him.
That's not him. Yeah.
So,
I get that.
so I'm just going to read this,
Mm.
which is a bit about a legal person has told a magazine about what they can sue what grounds Studio Ghibli can sue ChatGPT over.
Uh-huh.
So, this gentleman called Rob Rosenberg, who is the founder of Telluride Legal Strategies, has told the magazine Futurism,
Uh-huh.
by converting user photos to Ghibli style, OpenAI is trading on the goodwill of Ghibli's trademarks using its recognizable artistic identity in a way that may confuse consumers into believing that this is endorsed or licensed by the studio, which it isn't. Okay?
Hmm.
And they could also face legal action for using Ghibli's copyrighted works to train the AI model, which a lot of authors have also
They have.
done.
But Kiran, this is the problem. I think a lot of us today are acting on impulse. We are not pausing to think, if I say this, if I do this, does it have any other repercussion? We
Mm.
are living in an age of action before thought. Because if at least thinkers and creative people pause to think that, this is a trend, it'll be fun. Of course, would you not like to see your Ghiblified image? I would.
It's
But it's unethical. It is grossly unethical. I want to play a quote though. Everyone feels differently about these things. So since Udit Bhamri, who is it a, he wears a lot of hats, but one of them is that he's one of India's leading art collectors who's been collecting since the age of since he was 8 or 9 or 10, and also he's a major art consultant today, extremely discerning about art. That's his whole. He's very passionate about it, and I thought he would be the right person to speak to get his point of view. He lied to me and said that he's going to be in Delhi today because he didn't want to travel uh, to our studio. And But I managed to get a quote from him, and I'm going to play it just now so we can hear another point of view on this subject.
Hi, Shanali. Hi, Kiran. I have to say, y'all are definitely not aunties, and y'all are so relevant all the time with yet another current topic. With today's topic regarding Ghibli and AI, I mean, I'm a little out of date on some of this stuff, and I'm also a bit paranoid with giving access to anything like audio files and facial recognition tools, etc. Any access to my private information. Having worked in the digital world, I just worry about the things they can do with the stuff we voluntarily give out to people. For example, there were Ageify Me apps where people just wanted to see how they look 50 years older. I mean, make up your mind. Do you want to look older? Or do you want to look younger? I mean, you're curious to see how you look older, and you therefore need to get some quick fixes done. I just really, it baffles me why someone would give their access to their face. I mean, you can open a bank account today, for God's sake, with different angles of your face. Why would you give it to some application, unknown application somewhere on the internet? So that's one part of it where I just really feel like some of this information is going to be used in strange ways in the future, and that paranoids me. With regards to the art conversation, which I guess is also what you're asking me about, I think I'm all for art being accessible. I'm all for, um, art being accessible to all. But do you really need to see yourself as an artwork on Instagram for 24 hours? So I don't buy that argument. Art should be accessible in a sense where museums should be available and they should be free so that people can access them. There should be prints and etchings available and artworks available at reasonable prices so that people have access to putting it up at home and enjoying a beautiful object. I don't think this is art. And if that's the reason you're asking me about this, in terms of copyrights and things like that, things are ubiquitous. There are certain things like Kusama dots, and I don't know if it's a copyright issue. I mean, of course, those are issues that are ongoing, but I don't know if I have a moral compass on these things just because there's a ton of people that heard about Ghibli that hadn't heard about it before. So it kind of popularizes something. It has virality. It becomes second nature, and it becomes part of people's daily vocabulary for a long time. So I think it's good. I mean, if that's the way people are going to increase their knowledge on one kind of art or pop art or, however you may call it, um, that's great. But if it's about following a trend, as you know, with art or with social media trends, in both cases, and I mean, let's not talk about my fashion sense, but I'm really not the most trendy person in the room, and I'm happy not to be. Hope this helps. Enjoy.
I think
Yeah.
Udit has a very valid point
Mhm.
because a lot of people who hadn't heard or known of Studio Ghibli,
They have heard of it now.
they have heard of it now. How many of them will go and watch the movies is a different question altogether. But at
No,
least
it's creating a curiosity.
Just
I hadn't heard of Ghibli, and now I'm really curious to watch.
you hadn't heard of Ghibli. Don't give me that.
No,
No?
I hadn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then now you need to watch some of their stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm tempted to find some stuff and rewatch it again.
Mhm.
Not that I've seen anything much. But if this drives curiosity, well and good. But if it makes people think that, they can create a movie in 10 seconds or
Yeah.
whatever it takes to get the photographs out, then that's doing a disservice.
But I also think that they will need some laws in place, okay, about
Absolutely.
intellectual property. I think that all our material, our creative works, universally have been fed into the AI machines to train them. And I have a big problem with that because they are making money off paid subscriptions to ChatGPT and other AI models. But what happens to the person whose work was used to train it? It's like having a tutor and you're not paying that tutor, or it's using a song without paying royalty of that song. It's exactly at par with that. And I think that there really needs to be some action on this. So Kiran, I also spoke to a very, very influential gallerist, Shireen Gandhi, who is a second generation gallerist. Kemul Prescott Road Gallery, and she's, of course, in the thick of Indian art. She represents Indian art everywhere in the world. And I thought that Shirin would be the right person to, weigh in on this. And here's what she had to say. She says, to answer your question about the use of AI in art, especially erupting from the recent abominable use of Studio Ghibli for generating AI images, a few years ago, wouldn't we have called it plagiarism? And, it might be only as recent as our kids in school. Yours and mine, who have had access to technology while they submit essays in their grade 12 IB exams, and there are strict rules for plagiarism there. So she says, before AI, ChatGPT, the closest we came to the havoc that AI is playing today, it was already alarming, if you remember, was when we were all mugging stuff from textbooks and regurgitating it, okay? I would sound stupid if I had to make pronouncements on AI and the field of science, technology, etc., in the way it is advancing the world. So I purely come from the position of art, which includes writing being replicated, used, misused. For those who grew up on Studio Ghibli and love animation, hearing
Yes,
Miyazaki
exactly.
and Takahata on what went into making a 4-second animation video brings to fore what we take for granted in the creative world.
Yes.
Did Hussain take 5 minutes to paint the horse? Or did Tayyab Mehta labor 4 months to complete his single painting? Is now the point. How long, how quick is not even the question. Even though in the case of Studio Ghibli, it has become the moot point, the labor, the love, the execution, the finality, and in their case, time. It's nothing short of a violation of artistic creativity. At the same time, I've come across interesting concepts using AI uh, in our 60th anniversary exhibition called Camp, the Artist Collective Camp, where they use AI to create a video artwork. If one knows what deep fakes are, what Camp did was turn deep fakes on its head. This was the video work. So, another example of generative technology was an exhibition I saw recently of an artist called Christopher Kulendran Thomas, Sri Lankan by birth, and brought up in the UK. The artist feeds innumerable Tamilian war images, just as an example, mixed with art and historical images, creating layers and layers of imagery. Those layers then become the basis of where he begins his own original painting on canvas. The concept, the visual complications in the work, the access points was what really interested me in his work. So she says these are only two examples of AI should we say inspired art that made me interested. So inspired is different from imitation, right? It's okay to be inspired and then bring something of your own to it. I'm is what you and I were discussing earlier as well. So she says, not having delved into it enough, it's hard for me to come up with other examples. But conceptual tool, AI could become an interesting starting point in the creative process, but not in the actual usage of it. And so far, whether it is writing or it is art on canvas, derivative work inspired, has happened. There's nothing original in that sense, they say. But you always bring an element of your own creativity. Now, Jane Austen's stories have been told by so many writers and filmmakers in so many ways. Is the
See, fan fiction exists
correct?
for every type of writer, every type of genre, but it is fan fiction. It is not the original.
That's
And
what.
that's a very interesting point Shireen made about Tayyab Mehta taking 4 months to complete
Yeah,
a work.
yeah.
It reminds me of a story. I think it was Pablo Picasso who drew a bull in 5 minutes. And the visitor was standing there saying, "What's so great about it? It took barely 5 minutes to do it." He said, "But I took 40 years to train for that 5 minutes."
Exactly.
So, what about those 40 years?
Yeah.
What about those months that they took for the 3-second crowd video?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we are discounting by popularizing this kind of derivative work.
Exactly. The debate of AI and art, Kiran, is not about creativity, it's about authorship also,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right?
Who does the work really belong to?
Yeah.
And who will you credit for the work?
So a lot of creativity in art, they say, comes from collective consciousness. But now that is a very metaphysical concept and it's debatable, right? But just because it comes from there, but I'm the one who downloaded it and I'm the one who made something of it, right? So it is authorship.
Definitely it is authorship.
I remembered something very interesting. I'm reading The Covenant of Water. I'm reading it since 6 months, it seems, because it's so nice and so lyrical that, I can't read it on the fly. But anyway, and this is something that my father used to say, because my father, you really understood art and admired artists. And he said that as fetishized as Raja Ravi Verma is, he was definitely and most certainly not the finest artist of his time, even in Travancore. And then you and I went there
Went to the
last year.
museum.
We went to the museum and we saw his brother's work, Rama Ravi Verma.
I don't remember
Yeah.
the name. Yeah, but his brother's work with it.
Rama Ravi Verma.
Verma.
And, his work was different from his and certainly would have been as important had it got the right PR machinery behind it. Now, here's the thing. How did Raja Ravi Verma become so popular? Because he, in Travancore at the time with his wealth, he's the Raja, he used his print, he had a printing machine. And so he printed many, many thousand copies of his work and sent them across the country. And that's how he became a very well-known artist. He made his art accessible through printing machines. Yeah. And do you
Paintings.
know what is Brandy Melville?
No.
It's a brand of clothes. I thought
Brandy-
you would say it's Brandy.
Brandy Melville.
Like,
was
if you
a-
don't know these things, how will I know about Ghibli?
Yeah. We will discuss WWE. I'll meet you at that.
Yeah, I learned something about OnlyFans in the meanwhile. I read a
That is a career that fascinates me.
Yeah, I know. I read a whole novel on it called Margot's Got Money Troubles. Quite interesting. Anyway, we are digressing. So Raja Ravi Verma's art became what it did because, he had the means to advance it technologically. And Andy Warhol also used a lot of screen printing. Right?
Absolutely. Screen
And
printing.
yeah. So, and at that time also people had, artists were challenged. I mean, they were like, is this even art? Frankly, I think Andy Warhol's is really not art. And
Listen, we are at a time where a chappie has sellotaped a banana to a wall and sold it
I
for
know.
millions.
Yes.
So let us not even discuss what art is
Exactly.
today.
Yeah. Exactly. So compared to
replace
that,
it-
even Andy Warhol was
was
an
an
artist,
artist, yeah.
even though he stole Yayoi Kusama's work.
He did?
Yes, Yayoi Kusama went, since we are talking about art and it's relevant to this conversation, Yayoi Kusama, grew up with depression and she actually, she saw her father womanizing a lot. And at one time she saw him in the act of
Womanizing.
fornication with his mistress. And that really disturbed her a lot mentally. And she, to cope with her thoughts, started painting. And I think that was maybe when the early seeds of schizophrenia were sown in her head. But, she used to see these large fields of big flowers and big mushrooms and big pumpkins, and which is what Kusamas were called, the dots, right? She would see fields of flowers as dots. And anyway, so art became her release, a medium to express herself. And then she finally managed to get to the US, the Big Apple, because at that time women artists really didn't have agency, they had no platform. And she came there, and then she created Andy Warhol was her friend.
Mm-hmm.
And then she created a work in which there was a room which was full of phalluses, because she'd seen that, right, her father in that act, and they were all hand stitched and filled up like you fill up handmade dolls. And then there was other stuff where her dots were replicated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he came to her exhibition, he saw her work where the same image is reproduced many times over. And this is, I've actually written about it in an article after I went and saw her exhibition. And after that, he promptly stole that concept, made it his, and had an exhibition which sold out, whereas hers was only reviewed by a few critics who really could appreciate art and take gender away from the lens, and take the prejudices that came with the gender. And then she tried to kill herself. She became a psychiatric case. She was hospitalized for months.
Mm-hmm.
All of this Andy Warhol did to her.
Oh my God. Yet another icon gone.
So I'm sorry. So indulge me. I'm going to quote from my own article that
Please
was
go
published
ahead.
in the Mint Lounge on Yayoi Kusama. So actually, it was Georgia O'Keeffe who invited her to the US,
Okay.
yeah, and said that, do something with your art. So yeah, so her hallucinations, which became dots, field of flowers, violets became big, big dots, is how she began to do her dots, those dots which are on Louis Vuitton bags and in museums and all the experiences. But it is when she went to the US and had her first exhibition and invited her dear friend Andy Warhol to it. And she had, because she hated the male anatomy, because she was exposed to her father at such a young age, that she had made a room full of phalluses, made with like stuffed dolls with fabric and cotton. And when he went there, he was blown by the concept of something which is like a daily household object, like a doll, being repetitively used to make a point. Okay, and that's where he lifted her idea, because there was sculptures of boats and chairs and stairs, all lifelike, all repeated, okay, sewn with fabric. And that's where he got the idea of copying her. And after that, her repetitive style in wallpaper prints. And then Oldenburg, another artist, used the concept of soft sculpture, gaining far more acclaim than her. And this led to Yayoi Kusama's nervous breakdown, after which she was hospitalized and her hallucinations became even more aggravated. And today she lives out of a psychiatric facility in her 90s.
My goodness.
But she, of course, for she's converted her pain into art.
So all those Campbell soup cans were inspired
So
by
the,
her work.
yes, yeah, the repetition. I mean,
Yeah.
before that, nobody else had attempted to make a point with the same thing again and again and
But
again.
as you said, the
till it
household
gets-
items.
Yes,
Repetitive.
not just she had created stuffed items with that stitching process. She had made even stuffed chairs like that.
Okay.
But it was a room full of phalluses that hit him. And,
Okay.
yeah. So this plagiarism and art theft has been done since
Forever.
Forever.
From the classics, from the masters. They were
Yeah.
always copying each other and
yeah.
riffing off each other, so to speak.
But that is okay. They were not direct. I mean, they were inspired by each other's work and
Yeah.
copying each other's style. Why even today, top design houses do it. If one design house introduces a certain shape in a handbag, then everyone else follows suit. If one house decides to introduce feathers in a collection, everyone else does it. But that's all right. To that extent, they all inhabit the same, cosmos, and they lift a little bit from each other. But then they bring their own story to it.
Yeah. And that's a different debate altogether. This is directly taking visuals, directly taking an author's words,
Correct.
feeding them into ChatGPT.
I think, and also, Kiran, now the environment thing, I feel that, okay, we can't escape using
AI.
AI. Even today, if you ask a question in Google, first an AI answer comes on top. And there's a way of switching that off, I believe, which I don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
But these images are really heavy files, and that's awful. And if you think that just my using it is not going to make any difference, I don't know what kind of world your children and grandkids are going to inherit.
And Udit's point, to come back to it, you're doing your bank work with your face.
I know, yeah, we've never talked about that.
You're
giving
you're
an image of-
unlocking your bank app with your face. And AI has got your face now.
True. True.
So unless you get plastic surgery, now you're doomed. They will take all the money from your bank account.
Yeah, I think if they use that iris technology, well, even there it's gone because if someone copies your face, they copy your iris.
That reminds me of something really funny that I saw. This entire bunch of tourists from China stuck at the customs. The country is refusing to get them go back because they're coming back from Korea, South Korea, where they've had plastic surgery.
Oh,
And then-
yeah. I read about it.
And their new faces don't match their
I-
passport
And I saw
photographs.
images of them getting bandaged up, right? I saw that too.
So, now we all do to change our faces
Yeah.
because AI has our faces.
Yeah.
We all need to get plastic surgery done.
If I do plastic surgery, I have to find out who I want to look like. Today, you can show that to a plastic surgeon.
Yeah.
I'll just show my younger picture and say, this is fine.
This is good enough. Yeah. Who would I want to look like?
Your younger self only. Why will you want to look like someone else?
Because I've done myself. Now I'm bored with myself.
That's also
It's
true.
time for a change.
Okay, I'll find someone for you. Instead of Ghibli, we'll be doing this. Cosmetic surgery to look like other people.
Yeah.